The Cleveland Browns are trudging through their preseason finale against the Los Angeles Rams, and it's ugly. The offensive line looks like it's made of wet tissue paper. The receivers are running routes like they're stuck in molasses, and Sheduer Sanders, the rookie everyone's watching, is taking hit after hit. It's one of those games where nothing clicks. One of those nights that test not just a quarterback's skills, but his character. And then, Kevin Stefanski makes the call. He pulls Sheduer, swaps him out for Huntley, and the sideline buzzes. You can feel the tension. Fans watching at home, they think it's over. The rookie's done for the night. End of story. But Sheduer, he wasn't having it. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Now let's pause here, because this is the kind of moment that separates guys who just wear a jersey from guys who live for it. Most rookies, when they get benched in a sloppy preseason game, hang their heads. They sulk. They throw the towel over their shoulder and stew in silence. Not Sheduer Sanders. Instead, he walked right up to Kevin Stefanski, calm, collected, not a hint of whining, and he challenged him. Not in a coach, you don't know what you're doing way. Not in a disrespectful, diva meltdown way. But in the kind of way that makes every coach in the league stop and pay attention. He looked Stefanski in the eye and basically said, I can finish this. Put me back in. I can lead this. And Stefanski, the coach who's known for being measured, cautious, sometimes even too careful, he didn't roll his eyes. He didn't shut Sheduer down. He smiled, called him a competitive kid. Because in that moment, Stefanski wasn't just looking at a rookie quarterback. He was looking at a fire he hadn't seen in this building in a long, long time. Let's talk about what makes this so important. Cleveland has had quarterbacks before. Plenty of them. Some talented. Some not so much. But what's been missing year after year isn't just skill, it's mentality. The mentality that says, I don't care if the O-line is falling apart. I don't care if we're down 20. I don't care if it's just preseason. I want the ball. I need the ball. That's the kind of mentality you see in the greats. The kind you see in Lamar when he waves off the punting unit. The kind you see in Burrow when he shrugs at a third and 17 like it's just another rep. The kind you saw in Tom Brady when he'd scream at his linemen to get it together. And here's Sheduer, rookie, 5th-round pick, still learning the speed of the NFL, showing that exact same fire in his very first preseason. That's not normal. That's special. Now, here's the kicker. Stefanski's respect wasn't just lip service. When he called Sheduer competitive, it wasn't just coach speak. It was acknowledgement. Because Stefanski knows what we all know. The Browns haven't had that kind of mentality at quarterback in years. Sure, Baker Mayfield had the swagger. But Baker's fire often burned in the wrong direction. More about proving people wrong than proving himself right. Sheduer is different. His confidence doesn't come from ego. It comes from belief, from preparation, from a knowledge that even in a preseason mess, even with Huntley ready to take over, he still wanted the smoke. And that's the DNA of a leader. Think about how his teammates saw that moment. The offensive lineman who just let him get sacked 5 times, they saw a rookie still want to get back out there, still willing to trust him, still ready to fight. That's respect. The receivers who couldn't separate from practice squad corners, they saw a quarterback who wasn't blaming them, wasn't checking out, wasn't asking to be saved. That's loyalty. The defense grinding on the sideline, they saw a kid who refused to fold. That's energy. Moments like that don't just build reputations. They build locker rooms. And here's where it gets even juicier. The haters can't spin this one. You know how it goes. Every time Sheduer stumbles, the critics are ready with their hot takes. Too cocky. Too Hollywood. Only here because of Dion. But this wasn't cocky. This wasn't Hollywood. This wasn't primetime privilege. This was raw, unfiltered, old-school football mentality. A rookie refusing to back down. A kid demanding the ball when most would have disappeared. That's not arrogance. That's hunger. And it shocks Stefanski in the best way possible. Now, let's be honest. This didn't change the game. Sheduer didn't march back out and lead a miracle comeback. The Rams game was still ugly. The preseason finale was still forgettable. But what did change was perception. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Sheduer's mechanics or his stat line. Suddenly, people were talking about his character, about his fire, about the way he handled adversity. And that's how reputations start. Because the NFL isn't just about what you do when the lights are bright. It's about what you do when they're dim. And in a preseason slog that most fans want to turn off by halftime, Sheduer lit a spark. Now here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Stefanski didn't dismiss Sheduer's challenge. He didn't lecture him. He didn't say, "Know your place, rookie." He respected it. And that tells us two things. One, Stefanski sees a potential. He's not just humoring Sanders. He recognizes that mentality as something worth protecting, worth nurturing, worth building around. And two, this relationship might just be different. Because for years, the Browns' biggest issue hasn't been talent. It's been alignment. Coaches and quarterbacks never seem to be on the same page. Systems didn't fit personalities. Confidence clashed with control. But here, for the first time in a long time, you can see Stefanski and a quarterback speaking the same language. Different generations, different experiences, but the same fire for competition. That's how dynasties start. And let's not kid ourselves. The fans loved it. The dog pound has been begging for a quarterback with guts. Someone who doesn't fold. Someone who doesn't play scared. Someone who wants to win so badly he's willing to challenge his own coach in the middle of a meaningless preseason game. That's heart. That's swagger. That's the kind of energy Cleveland lives for. And Sheduer just gave it to them. So what does this all mean moving forward? It means Sheduer isn't just a body on the depth chart. He's not just QB3, sitting in the background while Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel carry the load. He's a presence. Every time Flacco misses a throw, the crowd will remember Sheduer's fire. Every time Gabriel struggles in relief, they'll remember Sheduer's confidence. Every time this offense sputters, they'll remember that rookie who refused to accept the bench. And sooner or later, the noise will be impossible to ignore. Because fans don't just want talent. They want belief. They want to know their quarterback is as hungry for wins as they are. And Sheduer has already proven he's that guy. Here's the bottom line. What happened against the Rams wasn't about stats. It wasn't about the score. It wasn't about preseason reps. It was about a rookie showing his teeth. It was about a coach seeing fire where he didn't expect it. It was about a franchise realizing that maybe, just maybe, they finally have a quarterback with the mentality to match the moment. And in Cleveland, that means everything. So when Stefanski called Sheduer a competitive kid, it wasn't just praise. It was foreshadowing. Because competitive kids don't stay on the bench forever. They take over. And Sheduer Sanders? He's already starting to. So tell me, do you think Stefanski really knew what he had in Sheduer before that Rams game? Or was that sideline moment the first spark of something bigger? Because one thing for sure, this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. And Cleveland? They might have just found the fight they've been missing. Let's not sugarcoat this. What happened on that sideline against the Rams wasn't just a blip. It wasn't just a preseason anecdote to get recycled into a highlight package. No, that was the moment. The first flicker of something every franchise dreams about and almost never finds. A quarterback who refuses to accept anything less than being on the field when it matters. And let's be honest, it rattled Kevin Stefanski. Not in a bad way. Not in a control, slipping away way. But in that rare, almost uncomfortable way coaches get when they see more fire than they expected from a rookie. Stefanski thought he was managing the moment, saving Sheduer from another series of punishment behind a Swiss cheese line, rotating in Tyler Huntley, getting through the game without another headline about sacks and blown protection. But Sheduer wasn't looking to survive the game. He was looking to own it. Think about the body language. Most young quarterbacks, after getting pulled, slump down at the far end of the bench. They tug the cap low, stare at the turf, maybe pretend to flip through the tablet while muttering about how it just wasn't our night. They sulk because sulking is safe. But Sheduer, he walked straight to his head coach, calm but fierce. No pouting, no stomping, no flailing arms. Just that look. That, I know I can finish this look. You can't coach that. And you better believe Stefanski saw it. That's why he called him a competitive kid. Because what else do you even say in that moment? It's not just competitiveness. It's audacity. It's a rookie reminding everyone around him, I didn't come here to be protected from losing. I came here to win. Now let's widen the frame. Why does this matter so much? Why are we even talking about a sideline exchange in a preseason game that half the league forgot about 5 minutes after it ended? Because this is the NFL, and the NFL isn't just about box scores. It's about signals, about flashes of personality, grit mentality, that tell you who's built for this league and who's not. And Sheduer just sent up a flare. He told the Browns, his teammates, and everyone watching, I'm not here for participation ribbons. I'm here to take the job. That's why fans latched onto it. That's why analysts couldn't stop replaying the clip. That's why, even with his rough preseason stat line, his stock went up after that game, not down, because people saw the mentality. Cleveland hasn't had that in, decades? Quarterbacks here have either been broken by the weight of the job or neutered into game managers, cautious shadows of what they were supposed to be. No one has had that alpha fire since maybe a flash of Baker in 2018. And even then, Baker's energy often spun into chaos, more bark than bite. Sheduer, his fire is different. It's focused, controlled, poised. He doesn't scream or grandstand. He simply walks up to his coach and says, I can lead us back. That's not noise. That's leadership. And in Cleveland, leadership at quarterback is priceless. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The ripple effect inside the locker room. Think about what his teammates saw in that moment. The O-line, who knew they'd been collapsing all night, saw a quarterback who still wanted to go to war with them. That kind of loyalty sticks. It makes guys block harder next time, fight through fatigue a little longer, because they know their QB hasn't lost faith. The receivers, who were running routes into dead coverage, saw a quarterback who didn't abandon them. He wasn't looking for the exit ramp. He was looking for the ball, no matter how grim it looked. And the defense? They saw a rookie who wanted to put the game on his back, instead of waiting for them to bail him out. That's how a team rallies. Not around perfect stats, but around guts. Now, let's flip this on its head. What if Sheduer hadn't gone up to Stefanski? What if he had accepted the benching, stayed quiet, kept his head down, and said all the right rookie things in the post-game press conference? Would that have been easier? Sure. Would it have avoided any risk of rubbing people the wrong way? Definitely. But it would have told the team and the league something else entirely. It would have said, I'm fine waiting. And Sheduer Sanders is not fine waiting. That's the difference between being a career backup and being a franchise quarterback. The great ones don't wait politely for opportunity. They demand it. Let's not pretend Stefanski missed that message. When he called Sheduer a competitive kid, it wasn't just a throwaway line. It was acknowledgement. It was him telling the media, yeah, I saw it too. This one's wired differently. And if you know how NFL coaches operate, you know how rare that is. They don't give rookies credit for challenging them. Most coaches would have brushed it off, downplayed it, even quietly disciplined it. But Stefanski respected it, because deep down, he knows Cleveland needs that kind of fire. And let's be real, the fans ate this up. The dog pound doesn't want polite. They don't want safe. They don't want a quarterback who shrinks in the face of adversity. They want fight. They want guts. They want someone who reflects the city's identity. Gritty, stubborn, relentless. Sheduer gave them that in one sideline conversation. And now, fans are hungry for more. They don't care that it was preseason. They don't care about his stat line. They care that when the moment got tough, he leaned in, not away. That's the kind of story fans tell for years. But here's the wild part. This was only the beginning. If Sheduer's already challenging decisions in August, what happens in October when Flacco throws a costly interception? What happens in November when Gabriel falters in relief duty? What happens when his Browns team inevitably faces a kind of late-game crisis that defines seasons? Sheduer won't be quiet then, either. He'll be ready. He'll be waiting. He'll be demanding the ball. And Stefanski will have to make a choice. Do you play it safe? Or do you roll with the kid who refuses to back down? That's the pressure cooker this sideline moment just set up. Here's the bottom line. That little exchange in the preseason wasn't little at all. It was a turning point. It was the first glimpse of the kind of quarterback Cleveland hasn't had in decades. Fearless, hungry, unapologetically competitive. And for Stefanski, it was a shock. The kind of shock that wakes you up. Because when you see a rookie willing to fight for the chance to lead, you realize you're not just coaching another kid. You're coaching the possible future of your franchise. So let the haters fume. Let the critics nitpick. Let the pundits dismiss it as rookie confidence. Because in Cleveland, they saw it for what it really was. The first spark of something they've been waiting for. Sheduer Sanders didn't just want to play against the Rams. He wanted to change the culture. And that's exactly what he's already starting to do. Let's be real. This wasn't just about Stefanski pulling a player. Coaches do that all the time in the preseason. They protect guys. They rotate reps. They try to balance evaluation with health. But with Sheduer, that decision cut deeper because it wasn't just pulling a rookie. It was pulling a competitor. And the way Sheduer responded, that was the moment people realized this kid doesn't accept sidelines as his destiny. Think about how many young quarterbacks would have handled it differently. Most rookies in that spot tuck their chin, nod along, and quietly vanish into background. They internalize it. Maybe they grumble to a teammate. Maybe they vent to their agent later. But they don't confront the coach. They don't go straight to the guy holding the whistle and challenge the call. Sheduer did. And that's not arrogance. It's accountability. He wasn't saying, "Coach, you don't know what you're doing." He was saying, "Coach, I know I can help. I know I can lead. Give me the shot." That's the difference between selfishness and leadership. One is about ego. The other is about responsibility. And if you watch Stefanski's reaction, you could tell he saw it. He didn't bristle. He didn't snap back. He didn't put Sheduer in his place. He acknowledged it. He respected it. That's why he called him a competitive kid. Because deep down, Stefanski knew this isn't just any rookie. This is a quarterback with a mentality coaches dream about. Now let's talk about timing. Because moments like this don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in a context. This wasn't Sheduer waltzing into a comfortable situation with a stacked roster and an ironclad offensive line. No. This was Sheduer grinding it out with second and third stringers, running for his life against a Rams defense that was throwing heat. He was getting hammered. He was getting sacked. He was playing through chaos. And instead of saying, "All right, get me out of here," he said, "Put me back in." That's not just competitiveness. That's defiance. That's grit. That's the kind of mentality that says, "I don't need perfect conditions. I'll play in the storm." And if you're Cleveland, that's exactly the energy you've been missing at quarterback. Let's take a step back and remember what the Browns have been through. This is a franchise defined by quarterback instability, defined by hesitation, defined by waiting too long to make bold moves or doubling down on the wrong ones. Over and over, they've had guys with tools but no fire, or fire but no consistency. And every time, the story ended the same way: disappointment. But Sheduer, he's already rewriting the script. Because when you show that kind of mentality this early, it changes everything. It changes how teammates view you. It changes how coaches evaluate you. It changes how the front office plans around you. And it changes how the fans believe in you. Let's talk about that last part. The fans. Cleveland's fan base is one of the most loyal, most passionate, most tortured groups in sports. They've sat through decades of pain. They've been promised hope over and over, only to watch it vanish. So, what do they crave more than anything? Not perfection. Not flawless stats. Not even instant wins. They crave fight. They want a quarterback who reflects the city's DNA, tough, resilient, unwilling to back down. They want someone who won't fold under pressure, who won't hide, who won't accept wait until next year. And in that moment against the Rams, Sheduer gave them exactly that. He showed fight. He showed guts. He showed the spark they've been starving for. And that's why fans lit up after that game. Not because of what he did with the ball, but because of what he did without it. Now, let's dig into the psychology of this. Because Sheduer didn't just reveal something about himself. He revealed something about how he sees this team, this role, this opportunity. By walking up to Stefanski and pushing back, he showed that he's not content to be a passenger. He's not here to collect a paycheck and play the waiting game. He's here to lead. And that's not normal rookie behavior. That's championship DNA. The greats? They've all had it. Brady demanding more reps. Peyton Manning refusing to come off the field in practice. Lamar Jackson waving off coaches to stay in on fourth down. These are the little stories that add up to careers defined by ownership. And Sheduer just gave us his first one. Of course, this throws Stefanski into a tricky spot. Because on one hand, you've got to protect your young quarterback. You can't just feed him to the wolves in meaningless games. That's coaching 101. But on the other hand, when your rookie shows you that kind of fire, how do you keep him contained? How do you tell a kid who clearly wants to fight, not yet? That's the tightrope Stefanski is walking now. He has to nurture Sheduer's mentality without stifling it. He has to give him space to grow without letting that hunger turn into frustration. And most importantly, he has to know when the time is right to finally let him loose. Because if you wait too long, you risk wasting the spark. But if you rush it, you risk burning it out. That's the challenge every coach faces with a young quarterback. And right now, Stefanski is balancing on that edge. Meanwhile, let's not forget Tyler Huntley. The guy who actually went in during that Rams game has become a footnote in this story. But his presence matters, because Huntley was supposed to be the insurance, the safe hands, the steady backup. But when fans and teammates saw Sheduer push back, Huntley suddenly looked ordinary. He looked like just another name on the roster. That's not a knock on Huntley. He's a solid quarterback. But when you're sharing a room with a rookie who's showing that kind of fight, you start to fade into the background, because fire beats safe every time. And let's not forget the bigger ripple effect. This moment changed the conversation in the media. Before the Rams game, the chatter around Sheduer was all about his struggles. The sacks, the rough outing, the lack of protection, the noise about whether Cleveland had sabotaged him. After the Rams game, the narrative flipped. Now, people weren't talking about stats. They were talking about mentality, about leadership, about how Sheduer showed the kind of competitiveness you can't measure with numbers. And in the NFL, that kind of shift is huge. Because once the narrative starts painting you as the fighter, the leader, the competitor, it sticks. And it follows you. And it builds momentum. That's how rookies go from question marks to future cornerstones. So where does this leave us now? With Sheduer Sanders firmly planted as the most intriguing figure in Cleveland's quarterback room. He's not QB1 yet. He's not even QB2. But make no mistake, he's already acting like a franchise quarterback. Because franchise quarterbacks don't wait for the perfect moment. They don't sit quietly and hope opportunity knocks. They demand opportunity. They knock the door down themselves. And that's what Sheduer did against the Rams. Here's the bottom line. What happened on that sideline wasn't about one preseason game. It was about identity. It was about Cleveland finally seeing a quarterback who embodies the fire they've been missing. It shocked Stefanski. It electrified fans. It woke up the locker room. And it sent a message loud and clear. Sheduer Sanders isn't here to wait his turn. He's here to take it. So now, the only question left is, how long before the Browns let him? Because if history has taught us anything, it's this. When a quarterback shows you he's ready to fight, the worst thing you can do is keep him chained to the bench. And Cleveland, you just found your fighter. The clock is ticking.